All right, Prof. James. Over to you, Prof. James.
Thank you very much. So time is running very, very tight. So what I'll do with this panel is that unfortunately we have to cut back on the Q&A from the floor. But I think it's only fair that we give Dato Darell Leiking and Dato Sri JC Fong to say a few words to add on to the presentation that was given this morning. So Darell, can I get you to say a few words, please? Thank you. Not more than 3 minutes. Sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Sabah, for inviting myself and all other colleagues, my colleagues, from my right all the way. I don't really know how to start as a panelist, honestly. But the subject matter that everyone has spoken is of interest to all of us. I just like to touch on the parliamentary increase of seats. Now, I was talking to YB Wilfred just now, and he gave me a very clear outlook on how we should implement it, and I agree with him. Also with Dato Sri, JC Fong, I spoke to him earlier about something that we should consider doing. So the two issues would be to increase the seat is already given, because the amendment in 2021 to the Federal Constitution has clearly inserted all references, including the Malaysian Agreement 1963, as well as the IGC report and all supporting documents. So it has become constitutional. And from what I discussed with YB Wilfred, and maybe he can elaborate more further later, is all we need to do is what the Premier of Sarawak had already mentioned. Demanding is no longer a question. It is basically acknowledging what we already have and implementing by state laws what should be with the state. That means the IGC report is now constitutional as far as the Federation of Malaysia is concerned. So the second one is, if there are still dispute over it, or in this case, if you can recall, the word YB Wilfred in law is when there's a doubt, we used to use the interpleader. If you can, is it interpleader? Or direction from the court, where we are in doubt. Right? So in this case, Dato Sri JC Fong did raise a couple of issues or proposals several years ago on Article 128 of the Federal Constitution, where we can get a clear, definitive direction of the Federal Court, is it, Dato Sri? Federal Court, on the position of Sabah, Sarawak, and the federal government on the Malaysia Agreement. That's about what I want to say.
Thank you, Dato Darell. Dato
Hello.
Fong.
I hope you give me more than 3 minutes.
Oh no, I'll be very cruel, don't worry.
Okay. I hear, or we have heard from Yang Berhormat Dato Sri Panglima Kitingan on the fact that we have been negotiating and we have not resolved all the problems. We had clarified through amendment to the Constitution the status of Sabah, Sarawak, and some other issues regarding the standing of Sabah, Sarawak within the Federation. Okay? What I always say is this: if you keep negotiating, it will not resolve every problem. All right? First, the issue of financial autonomy that Dato Roger Chin mentioned. I've always said that you can call yourself a super state, a nuclear state or whatever. If you have no money, it means nothing. You are still under some form of colonization. Because if you have no money, even if you want to build a road, a bridge, you have to come up with a plan, go to Putrajaya and ask them for money. And they refuse or give you less than what you want. So that has a big impact on how you develop your state and how you're going to increase or go towards a high income economy. All right? So the important thing is look for areas within the law and the constitution where you can get more money, which they cannot stop you. Okay? The oil and gas issue. We all know the PDA has taken away your rights for 5%. In fact, Sabah, when the parliament passed the federal, the state of what we call the Labuan Act, you have to include a special provision there, a special provision in the Labuan Act, the handing over of Labuan to the federal government as federal territory. That for the purposes, you have a special section. You can go to that act and have a look. They have to enact a special provision to say that for the purposes of the Petroleum Development Act, Labuan is deemed to be part of Sabah. Why? Because your oil and gas are centered around Labuan. If you don't have that section, they will treat you like Kelantan and Terengganu and just give you some 1%, not even 5%. All right? What happened one day, they removed that provision in Parliament. You will lose all your rights to oil and gas. For Sarawak, we told them, we will enforce our right under our oil mining ordinance. We told them we will take back our onshore mining. So we are now producing oil and gas onshore in Miri for the first time since Malaysia Day by the first half of next year. And we are going to revive our onshore mining in order to get more revenue. For offshore mining, we told them, look, we must be allowed to farm into your oil-producing fields. So now today, through Petros, Petros has equity in 5 lucrative oil and gas producing sites, and we have 10 involved in 10 exploration PSC, where in future we will get the revenue. So today, Petros is the 3rd biggest oil and gas company in Malaysia, with more than 100,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. We had under the Constitution, there was a constitutional order made under Article 95D of the Federal Constitution. And this was in accordance with the recommendation of the IGC that Sabah and Sarawak will have the legislative authority of Sabah, Sarawak will be extended to oil and gas. No, to electricity and to distribution of gas. So we had the power over gas distribution. So we appoint the gas aggregator. Because if you have the power over distribution of gas, you have the power to decide who should be the distributor. So now we want Petronas gas to be distributed by us. And we make the money. We make the money. It is quite substantial. We use our law, we amend the land code to take care of carbon capture and storage. We are going to develop the CCS site. We are going to unleash the stranded assets, which are the sour gas, the gas full of CO2 and other contaminants, especially in Western Sarawak. we are going to realize the value of this gas. And we are going to produce this gas. We pay the 5% royalty to federal government. We are telling Petronas that we are going to take the predominant role over the realization of the value of this gas, which are stranded, cannot be used. Now we have the facility, we have the technology to take up the CO2, we are going to produce this gas. So that's why the Premier predicted by the year 2035, or even earlier, the state revenue will be 60 billion. So you got to don't be dragged down by negotiation. Negotiation will continue, but you must look at the ways in which you can get your revenue within the existing framework and what you can do. Now, I want to correct my friend Dr. Roger Chin's statement about the Territorial Sea Act, saying that the Territorial Sea Act determined the boundary of the state. I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. Okay, if you look at the 1954 order in council made in Buckingham Palace by Queen Elizabeth, it extended the boundary of the state of Sabah and Sarawak, we both had the same order, to cover the seabed and subsoil in that area forming the continental shelf of the coast of Sarawak, and which, or irrespective or disregarded the character of the high sea above it. All right? The high sea can be territorial waters, can be high seas, whatever, ocean, whatever you may call it. But the continental shelf is part of the state territory. That is why in the land code and also in the Sabah Land Ordinance, that area is defined as part of state land, totally under the control of the state. So the resources there are the resources of the state. Regardless of what they want to do or whatever law they pass, it remains the fact that that is state land. So they want to apply the PDA, whatever they want to do. They cannot ignore the fact that they are operating in state territory. And I want to say this, and say this very clearly. The PDA, if you look at section 2 of the PDA, only vests petroleum, the rights to petroleum in Petronas. The PDA never vests the land in Petronas. So you can control Petronas by exercising your rights over the land. That is why they have no choice but to allow us to farm in and take part in the oil and gas exploration, production, onshore and offshore. They cannot fight you on that. Okay? Petronas has been making a lot of money in Sabah, Sarawak. They say the two towers, the twin towers, one is from Sarawak money and one is from Sabah money. Petronas only own the fountain in front of it. So, if you want financial autonomy, that is the way to go. The other way to go is regarding what Dr. Roger says about development grant. Why don't we follow the British model, the Westminster model of devolution? Every year, Westminster Parliament will provide an allocation for Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. That allocation goes direct to the Scottish Treasury. Tell the federal government to do the same thing. Give a specific allocation, maybe 1 billion or 10 billion ringgit, and deposit that into our consolidated fund. We decide how to spend it, whether on road or what. That is why in Scotland, university education is free. But if you go to England, you pay. So that is how the way to go. Yeah? Over the years, we know a lot about MA63. We have been negotiating. We have been talking about the 20 points. Now is the way forward. And I only hope that forum like this in future will focus on the way forward. Looking backwards and, feeling a bit sad that our British colonial masters put us into Malaysia is not going to clear this matter. Now, autonomy over health and education. I had advocated, and the state government is advocating too, that the executive authority over health and education be transferred to the state under Article 80, Clause 4 of the Federal Constitution. All right? But it must come with the money. Because if you ask for education and health to come back to the state, federal government now short of money. But how are you going to fund it? But the federal constitution provides a mechanism. When this happens, there must be an agreement between the state and the federation over how much money must be handed over to the state for the state to carry out its executive function on behalf of the federal government. And if that amount can be agreed, then under Article 80, Clause 6, it will be referred to a tribunal appointed by the Chief Justice of Malaysia. The money must come with the transfer of executive authority. Okay? Don't ask for it without asking for the money, because the state hasn't got that revenue to sustain these two items. So that is all I want to stress. We in Sarawak will always fight for financial autonomy. The Premier himself is in the forefront of it, and we hope Sabah will look at your laws, your situation, analyze that carefully, and we would like both our states to progress forward, together, and we hope that we will prosper together.
Thank you very much, Dato Seri. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So if I can summarize up your 15 minutes, it's very simple. No money, no talk. So unfortunately, we have to cut short the Q&A. So I'm happy to take 3 questions from the floor together. And if any of the questions are directed at any of the following panel, please mention them by name. So can I have just 3 questions all together? And please introduce yourself very, very quickly. First one. Yes, please.
My name is Katut Achong. I'm a retired principal of schools. I live in Stratok. To me, the basic thing is we are talking about 1/3.
Can I have your questions, please?
Oh, I comment.
No comments, questions.
Under Article 44 of the Federal Constitution, Clause 4, can you look at it so that we can increase the number of these appointed senators so that we have more say in the parliament? So that we can
I think that is covered by what we all agree on, which is that we want 35% of all the seats in both houses to go to Sabah and Sarawak. Do you have a question?
Okay.
That's your
all,
question?
yeah.
Okay. Second question? Over there, please. Over there? Oh, sorry, you wanted to ask a question? Yeah, okay, you'll be the third one.
My question is directed to all the panelists from Sarawak in particular. If the Premier is very serious about these MA63 issues, why is he not using it as a bargaining chip when they are negotiating for power in Parliament? Thank you.
Thank you. Another question here?
So my name is Fatul. My question is what is the key approach for us to educate younger generation of Sabah and Sarawak to understand more about MA63? Because we see in this forum full of senior citizens. Yeah, there is no young people. Yeah, so
Better don't attack because you'll be a senior citizen one day.
So what is the key approach for us to educate younger generation on MA?
Okay, I understand your question. How do we create public awareness about the true situation in MA63? And the other question is, if Sarawak is serious about MA63, is the Premier using it as a leverage? We have one more question left, that one over there. The guy wearing the batik. Last question.
I'm addressing this to the two Dato Sri because they were in the midst and
Please ask your question.
My question is, back in the days, what was the reason that all this issue was never brought up? When we grew up, we learned about Merdeka Day as being 31st of August, but never thought about 16th of September. What happened during that time that we can learn that moving forward?
Thank you. I think that question is related to the second question, which is about public awareness. Any of you would like to take the questions? You can just answer one, or it's actually just two questions. Go ahead.
Since nothing's targeted at Sabah, can I just answer that question about public awareness? Actually, I find the biggest problem is the talks are not easy to follow. Okay, that's why I always try to lower the talks to an understandable level. Hopefully, what I said just now made a lot of sense. And I find that to be the biggest problem. Okay, we can have forums like this as much as we want. But you know what? If you do not pitch it down to an understandable level, everyone will just walk out without understanding anything. Quoting articles 44, 23, 128, 99, whatever, makes no sense. Okay? You will walk out just with numbers in your head, but you won't understand how it actually applies.
Okay. Can you answer this question? Why was this not discussed earlier? Why is suddenly MA63 blown up the last few years? No, there's a question from Simon. He mentioned that, when he was growing up, this thing was not discussed at all.
I do not know why it was not discussed, but we took a more sustained and proactive approach when Tok Nang came into the picture. Okay, previously, I think we were quite happy, if I may say so, with the arrangement. But when we look deeper into the matter, we think that things must change. Okay, on the issue of constitutional literacy, okay, there is an MOU signed recently between University of Malaya and Freeman. We are going to start a law school in Kuching. That was what Premier has articulated. Eventually, MOHE agreed to this arrangement. It will be run by University of Malaya in Swinburne, in collaboration with Swinburne. And constitutional history, MA63 and all that, I believe will be part of the syllabus. If you, I got to clarify this, of course, with Professor Jason Cheah, who is one of the prime mover of this. He's the dean of the law faculty. On the question of leverage, using MA63 as a leverage, we have been doing that in our discussion. So we come to the issue which we cannot agree. We also just go ahead. That is how we got the phrase agree to disagree. That came about when I asked Tommy Thomas, when he was AG, to refer certain, he disagreed about the continental shelf and petroleum mining act and all that with me. So I challenged him to say, look, you can refer this to the federal court under Article 130 for an advisory opinion. He said no, for various reasons. I said, okay, if you say no and you disagree with me, you cannot stop me or the state government from doing what we feel is right. Okay? You can disagree with me, so we agree to disagree. But we proceed. We proceed. We exercise our rights over the continental shelf. We pressure Petronas, all this, in order to get revenue. We want to say at the beginning, we are fighting for a more equitable share of the oil and gas revenue. And we will continue to do that. Although they disagree with us. I think they are tired of taking us to court.
Thank you, Dato.
Thank you.
Wilfred, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I think it's basically, if you look at the top, it's very clear. Whatever there is, we refer back to the basic law. And what is the basic law? The basic law is Federal Constitution, Malaysia Agreement, IGC report. We follow that. And if you look at Sarawak, I've been very fortunate because when I got elected in 2021, there were 3 laws, significant laws. And what were they? Distribution of gas ordinance. I think that allowed us to get extra revenue, reduction of greenhouse gases, the carbon capture, the storage, all that. That is another additional revenue. We amended the land code, So I think what Dato Sri is talking about is Sarawak is actually putting it into action. Because it's not about negotiation. And if you listen to the Premier during the Keluar Sekejap, he made it very clear. He says that, whoever the Prime Minister is, he wants the Prime Minister to acknowledge MA63, the federal constitution and all that. So as long as we pass laws conforming to the basic law, then we should be all right. So that's what we are doing. And to that question about why youth do not understand this kind of forum, I think every one of us here, we play a role in ensuring that the information is disseminated downwards. So if there is any issue with our youth today, then the problem lies with us because we never initiated the training programs, putting it into the syllabus and all that. And I'm very happy to see the current government, through our education, because we have an education minister, and steps are being taken. And I hope that all these things will be implemented soonest.
Thank you. Just to add on to what Wilfred said, the easiest way to reach youth nowadays, of course you change in a few years' time, is through TikTok. No, seriously, I can show you statistics. It's unbelievable, the pickup from TikTok. Dato Jeffrey, do you have anything to add?
Can I just add very quickly about the point on law school? Actually, that's being discussed for Sabah as well. So law school not only in Sarawak, but law school in Sabah as well.
Thank you.
Actually, we're still confused. What Malaysia is defined under MA63 Article 1, or Malaysia is defined as proclaimed in the 16th of September. There are 2 fundamental differences here, and we have to rationalize and reconcile it. On the Article 1 of MA63, when we were still colonies, we are federated with existing states of the Federation of Malaya, and that federation shall be called Malaysia. That means no Malaysia lah, just an expansion. But when Malaysia was formed finally on the 16th of September, we were proclaimed the state of Sabah, Sarawak, is proclaimed to be federated with the Federation of Malaya, not with the existing federation, but Federation of Malaya. So, which Malaysia are we actually? Are we Malaysia Malaya or Malaysian Malaysia? Which is we are federated with the Federation of Malaya. So if we are, then there are two tier federation. And if we are, then it would be easier to reconcile it, because if we keep going back, we will still be colonists. We have to move forward.
Yes. Thank you,
and I believe that Malaysia was formed as a transition for us to become fully independent eventually. Yeah.
Thank you, Dato.
Yeah.
YB Darell?
Thank you. I agree with what Dato Fong mentioned, that we need to move forward already. Talking of the past is one thing. The machine, what do you call that? We have amended the constitution, and we have all the basic things that we can utilize to just force our way through this at the state level. So the federal government will not be able to disagree with us if we have it legitimately passed in the State Assembly. Can I just get the clarification while I have an opportunity here to ask as well to Dato Sri Joseph? Article 8 of the Malaysia Agreement 1963 clearly states that if all these agreed to are not implemented, we can enforce it at the State Assembly. Would I be right to say that you are doing it not at the State Assembly, but doing it as administratively at the moment? Yeah, I know, administratively legal in Sarawak.
I thought in the two cases of Robert Lingi and the other one about the two teachers, individual, if they are directly affected by the implementation of the Malaysia Agreement, in this case colonization and all that, they do have a locus standi to sue. Okay, but they have to prove that their interests are directly affected by any breach of the Malaysia Agreement. Like in the case of the two teachers, they were affected by colonization.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, time has caught up with us. If I don't stop
one
now,
more,
my head will be on a
please.
chopping block. Yes, 30 seconds.
This is very critical, because I think the 40% revenue will never be resolved as long as we keep on discussing about it without proposing a formula. And I like the proposal by Roger. We collect at source, but we need to create a mechanism, maybe a legal mechanism, so that we will give the 60% to federal. We collect first. Thank you.
Yes, it comes back to what I said earlier, which is no money, no talk. So thank you very much. I have to close this session. So can we have a round of applause for our great panelists? Thank you.